Okay, welcome back to the 409th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. Mr. Kesh, are you ready to take on some questions in this second half, or how would you like to?
Yes, we're carrying on with our usual plan, but please be aware if we get a call, we have to break for a few minutes. It'll be the same pattern for next 3 4 weeks.
All right, that's very good. Thank you for being on hand for both us and for World Peace Conference at the same time. That's wonderful.
I mean, when we said, people thought it's just a talk, but Keshe Foundation is a cornerstone, a part of the negotiation in the background. And we are at the service of Iranian nation, Iranian leadership, to make sure
Sorry, to make sure what, Mr. Kesh? I think we missed a couple of words.
The negotiations are not unfair, both to the Iranian negotiators and supporting teams from other nations. We are one of the organizations which is negotiating and is embedded in the background with certain, what we call groups of negotiation, which will try to infuse and encourage the peace talks. This is the way Keshe Foundation has worked since 2010, 2011, and was the outcome of what we call releasing the key. We knew that knowledge is the key to breaking up the animosities, and this knowledge has to be accessible to all nations. As our knowledge seekers know, we have asked our team in US, in Arizona, our team in China, our team in Tehran, and our team in Brazil to start locating and to find, with negotiation with the authorities or independently, for the first, what we call, institutes of Keshe Foundation, which will go in conjunction with the one in Austria. The knowledge and the team of Keshe Foundations have been instructed in the past few days to actively locate where, in conjunction with the governments, we can open the institutes within the next 12 months. And the finance for it has been backed by the Keshe Foundation. And this process has started because we need to educate. We cannot educate only in English just because we do, but it has to be translated into other, what they call, languages and understood by. So in the coming year, 2 years, as we build these institutes, you will see that institutes will look exactly the same. We have asked our team to bring this out. We have a good idea of how we want it to be. We have a location which we like the universities or institutes to be the same. You will see a copy of the same institute right across the planet, a blueprint in Tehran, in Beijing, in Brazil, in Arizona, and even in Austria. And this become a pattern of work, is where you feel you belong to a new generation of life, new knowledge and technology. And our work has started. We cannot stop. And in a way, we are using our knowledge as a gift to the nations for in exchange for peace. Last time we gave the key, this time we give the structures. Building the cities with institutes. Tehran and Beijing have already gone through the process now of starting. We started direct negotiations with the Iranian government officials to build the first, what we call, CO2 captures, a structure in one city, the city of Tehran, and then most probably Beijing, New York, and Delhi has been chosen for the, what we call, the New Delhi, for the structure of absorbing what we call CO2 pollutants. And is not one structure, is covering the whole city grid. We have set up, and it'll be coming more now, what we call the structural features coming. The Chinese team and hopefully the architects in Austria will deliver the first physical structure shape of it, and we start building by mid this year, where we capture CO2 across a city, not in one location. And with the support of the nationals, we will build 10 centers in each city, especially positioned, and then the citizens, some 25,000 members of the public, will become the supporters of running these systems, that we absorb balanced fields across the city. And then we'll see how the pollution will die in Tehran before end of this year. Hopefully, if we can get everything sorted by beginning of next year. The same will be in other cities. And the interactive change of the situation, we even know how many metric ton we will absorb from these cities of what we call the capturing of the materials. And is the process which the Keshe Foundation will go, and then at the same time this year we'll finance in 30 major cities around the world to go for the cleaning up of the waters and changing the waters to water supplies where the nations can benefit by it, health-wise or environmental-wise. We have entered the physical dimension of change, and this is part of what you have to expect from the structure like Keshe Foundation. There is a lot of work gone into the background of it, and all of us as knowledge seekers, step by step, have helped, have supported, and specialized in different part of it. Now we're bringing the knowledge in, the collective knowledge with the government. I have worked 40 years to achieve this, and now I have put my own resources in the background to it, that everything established under the Keshe Foundation name will be owned 100% by the Keshe Foundation itself, in the name of the Keshe Foundation. We are not building on the other names and trying to go, but we build the enhancement centers, we build the wellness centers, we build the CO2 capture centers, all under the name of the Keshe Foundation. That we all belong as it is, one nation, one planet, boundaries. Technology in exchange for peace, but we have to bring peace not to the guns, but to the society as a whole. Let's see how we can achieve it in the next 10 years and how it will change all of us in the coming time. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. In the YouTube, we have 2 questions from Jan. First question, Mr. Keshe has said that the soul of Mithra has already been planted. Will Mithra be of the bloodline of Mr. Keshe? It's the first question.
Mithra is the bloodline of the Creator. Any other question?
And the second question is, and if man, you've gotten this question before, but it is one that many people ask. And if man is made in the image of God, then why does man create so much mayhem on the earth?
Man is created in the image of God in the soul of the man. The interaction of the light of the soul has created a physicality which has gone haywire, as we see. It's not just the man. There is a misfunction in the dimension of the life and physicality of this planet. Due to its structure, does not allow the fields which are needed for the conversion and sustainability of the soul to arrive to, in its interaction with the dimension of the soul of this planet, to create a life that can sustain, to attain all it needs from its environment. This is one of the reasons that we are introducing all these ganses. When a plant does not give the fruit that you want, what do? You cut into it and you change it and you make it anew with a taste and the flavor you like. We do that with apples, we do that with cherries, we do that with all the plants we know. Nowadays you call it genetic modification. Our ancestors used to do it a different way by changing the skin of the tree, by changing its flavor and taste. Now we have the same problem with humanity. This planet, due to structure, does not allow enough fields of the right order according to the conventional fields to create a dimension of life that can absorb the energy like itself does from its environment. And that convention, lack of energy, manifests in demanding to survive an additional rapid continuous energies, which we do that by eating, by killing, and whatever. If mankind or the creatures which are protein based on this planet manage to make that conversion, then one will understand. Then one will phase into it. And then this is our job. All this introduction of enhancement units, production of ganses, and all this, these are the small works which is needed. It's like a bricks in the wall to be put in that the wall can hold this time. And at the same time, introducing how this wall works is another part of what we call the education side of the Keshe Foundation. And this is very, very intriguing, interlocking, but intervening with bringing the change. When you plant a tree, when the soil cannot give energy for the plant to survive, what do? You add additional energy as manure, as fertilizer, as chemicals to support it to exist. We are in the same position. This plant pot, which has given life to man, does not sustain enough to allow what it grows to live. So the plant, which is the man, now extends to get something from somewhere else for it to survive. With the introduction of what we call the GANS technology, because it's the easiest way for you as humans to understand, by introduction of the enhancement unit, we are bringing up the two together. You will understand why we even absorb the CO2s. In the project of the CO2 absorption from the cities, we spray back the CO2 on the cities. What was killing man, or what was global warming, now become the source of energy and life. But notice, we always go back to the teaching. What we said in all the teaching, when you use gases, you need CO2 because it's a connector. When we spray the cities, we connect man to the new dimension. People will flood into these cities to receive it. What is pollution now becomes the source of energy. And in that process, we will see man will change. When you read the business plan, which is set for what we call structure of setting up the companies for capture of CO2s in Tehran, in Beijing, and the others, you see this. We have put forward in capturing the CO2, now we spray the CO2 back on the city in the form of energy. What does this energy do? Connects man to energies which is needed and is within the environmental atmosphere to be absorbed. Man would not kill anymore. Man would not change anymore to destroy. We will see Tehran as a city of the light, but lit by the soul of the God. These are the changes to come, and it's too far for us to explain because you cannot comprehend. Establishment of the capture of CO2 is not just to capture, is to bring a new condition of enlightenment, to bring cities of light, cities of where peace sits. And we do the same across this planet. In the calculation estimate down through the business plan, we need 5,000 cities that we capture the CO2 and we spray back on it. What the plant could not get from the soil, we gave it through addition. Now we give the addition through a different new scientific way. When what is being shown to connect to the environment, the plants do this. The plants don't kill, but they connect to the energy fields. Now it's time for man, and when we spray the CO2 over the city, we elevate the soul of the cat, the mouse, the ant, and everything else. It's not just for man. What I'm doing, you cannot even imagine how far-reaching it will be in the coming time, and you will see. This is what I said from the time in teaching. When the man, the soul of the man elevates, he's responsible for all creatures. And when I do, I light and love all creatures. It's not only for elevation of the soul of the man, the plants will change, the trees will change. We will see a new cycle of life, which does not need to kill, does not need to destroy, does not matter wherever you are. When it rains equal on the cat, the man, the dog, the ant, and the rest. The implication and application of new technology in the life of the man will be immense. When we rain the energy connection to the universe and the pattern of this life, most of these rains will wash into the rivers and it will change the life of the animals and the fish in the oceans. We know what we are doing, and we're far-reaching. In the next 5 or 10 years, most of the humans will not even recognize the way they live. The way we accepted the computers and the mobile phones, we accept to be peaceful is part of us. Some of us will not even remember the wars because we are not from that generation. It didn't exist in our time. We meet people who've been through the camps and they've been through extermination camps and escaped, and we see those who've been in prisons through the forces of the political reasons or whatever. And when they came out and they lived, they just don't want to talk about it and they forget about it. The man will go through the same process. And this is one of the gifts we have bestowed on Iran to be the first nation to do so. The land of Mitra. You will understand soon what I'm doing with humanity. You cannot even imagine. What was short will be given back by the fields of the planet, but not by the matter state of the planet. You killed and used it that way. We give it that you don't need to kill. Any other question?
We had a question from Martine from Brazil. Is there a date for these machines to start working?
These machines are working. It's just that we are waiting for all the nations to come to an agreement in 5+1. Because 5+1 are the world leaders in economy and industry, so-called, we need to bring the change on the top that it reflects all the way down. And this is one of the reasons we are sitting here in Vienna and what I call work with the members of the 5+1 in the background, those who are influential. We don't consider France, Germany, and UK as essential part of these negotiations. They are parasites into the whole process because they've been colonizing and they think it's their right. And in a way, we work through different structures. In the front, we let the knowledge seekers say one thing, but in the background, we negotiate differently. And we shall see the outcome in the coming time. If we manage to change the situation the way we expect, then you will see the enhancement centers bubbling up everywhere. At this moment, as we're talking, as Rick was showing the enhancement unit, 3 enhancement units a week is under production in China. And they'll be shipped into Europe in the next 3-4 weeks. We're going to mass production. The what you call the vision and the brain enhancement unit, tons of it is getting produced and assembled, ready to go out. I gave a promise to John, he'll be the first one to receive it, and will be as part of the gift in the negotiations that we share equal directly with the United States and then with China and the West. It's not that it's we kept it back till we get to the point it was the right time and the knowledge could be spread the right way. Now the what I call the vision enhancement units, 48 of them will be shipped to Arizona once we have the clearance on the transfer of technology and peace with the United States in these negotiations. And we hope to achieve it very fast. And what I hear from our negotiators, there is a lot of good development has been done, but this development is on the nuclear side, not on the technological side. Now we have to change it. And it needs this kind of work to be done. We thank the Office of Examining Scientific Harmony of Iran and his chief negotiator, Mr. Lawali, in these negotiations. It is important that we understand, but there is some sort of personal positions which have to be solved and is getting solved. And there is others for the national level which is getting solved. But it takes time. As I said to one of the negotiators very recently, this situation between Iran and America is like what I call the Iranian girls and the way they push away by the hand and they pull under the table with the leg. And now we are in that position. We haven't managed to bring that they shake hand on the table too, but they'll come very soon through the right way. Any other question?
Maybe they need more women in the negotiations. Iranian women in the negotiations, perhaps. Speaking of which, we have a hand up here from Azar. Would you like to go next?
Go ahead, please.
Oops. Oh, there she is.
Good morning, Mr. Kesh. I have actually, I don't think we need more women in the negotiation because women are doing more of the با دست پیش میکشه با پا پس میزنه.
You know exactly what that means.
You know, you don't need that.
It's part of the culture.
So it's better women be off of that. For now.
Oh no, we have good advisors in the back, women, don't worry.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. One is right now as a drop of water, I don't remember when I was in a fountain or I was in a cup, but in a coming time, when humanity changes, would I remember as a drop when I was in a fountain or when I was in a cup or vice versa?
Yes. because you share the knowledge with all within the cup. This is what I keep on saying, and maybe now we can understand a little bit more. Once you are in that water as a drop, your knowledge becomes knowledge of all, as much as their knowledge becomes knowledge of all, which you are part of. We don't have universities, we don't have what I call the schools in the universe. If you want to understand this, it's very simple. We go back to beautiful things which Rick used to show with the magnets. When you put a magnet or put a knowledge in that magnet, all the other magnets on the table respond and position themselves because they understood they have a connection with that knowledge. And that's how it shall be. When you put a magnet on the table, Rick, do you still have that with you somewhere? Where you play with magnets on the table?
Most of them have broken up and kind of fallen apart, but I would have to prepare that.
No, I mean, if you have the video, you have
the video. Yeah, I don't have that separated out. I should do that because that's come up a few times.
Yeah.
I'll have to get that ready. Sorry.
Yeah. When you see this video, it's beautiful the way Rick done years ago. It's when you put a magnet, that magnet has different attributes, have different composition of metals in each part of it. And when you set it down in the middle of the other magnets respond collectively with all the things which are in that magnet. Its knowledge, its power, its cells, everything. And this is how it is. You're that drop in that. So every single cell, every single molecule, every single atom in that cup already moves to accommodate for you. And then there's another drop, and the other drop moved, and all have to be done. So the knowledge in the dimension of creation is uniform and with all. That's what now maybe some of you understand. When we say there is no university and college and PhDs in the universe, because the knowledge is instantaneous, and what is learned by one is shared with the soul, with the others. And that's why we don't have a worry when the man goes to another dimension. It's just taking this factor of killing out of the man is a bit cumbersome, but we're getting there. And the only way is to uproot it from here, rain upon man the CO2, and bring the connection to the universal community and itself. I told you is in one of the teachings very recent that even the stars and moons and galaxies will change because of this new understanding. Not just by man. We have the same structure across the universe.
Mr. Keshe, the second question I have is, you see when...
Did you have, by any chance, Jalal in one of your teachings recently?
In Farsi teaching?
Yeah.
I don't know. You
or in any other teaching? Or have you been to any of the teachings of Jalal? You always come with two questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, the second question is, when the man changes, we go through this process. Is our essence gonna be more like, you know how what makes you Mr. Keshe is something that you like to do as you, we call it your personal character, or mine is as Azar. Is this gonna be more profound, and it's gonna change because each of us has kind of a destiny, something that makes us.
Of course, you will change, but at the same time, you have a say in that change. We all have a say in our changes and what we accept. And I always say, I always look at myself than outside. I did not want to change anything for years. And when I made the changes, brought a lot of change because I accepted that I was responsible, accepting all the views. And he had to end, and he brought the change. And he brought the change to everything else because I feel different, I react different. I stopped abuse. Now you see it reflects on the technology and the knowledge and everything else. It's what we accept counts. If I said that very recently, I'll go back to this in the recent past few weeks deliberately because we'll explain to you very soon why. When in past year and a half, 2 years, you lot have received a whack of what's on the internet about me and how it is. I lived with it for 30 years, but to me, I never stood still. Why do I accept this abuse? This abusive behavior has been the pattern all the time. But too busy to make wealth, too busy to expand the Keshe Foundation worldwide, I never stood still. And when you stop that abuse, everything changes because there are new energies which come into life. The abusive behavior has been there not only about me, the whole people around, we've been set that way. Being frightened, we've been threatened. One of the knowledge seekers was told it's because of what? He has a job, and that fear has stayed in the knowledge seeker for years now. The abuse hasn't been in one, and what we accept brings it to that point. And there's no more time and place for abuse.
Mr. Keshe, my last question, okay, go ahead.
I'll be going to a new cycle, number 3. 3 questions.
Okay, last question, Mr. Keshe. Right now, when we go through the change, it's not only planet Earth that goes through the change, the whole cosmos goes through the change. So does every soul is able to move between physicality and non-physicality?
That is the beauty of the creation of Mitra. We have the ability, we have the knowledge, we have to choose. Do you want to always sleep, what do you call it, stay in the state of dream in the sleep? Or do you want that to be part of you? It's a huge difference, Alzadra, where you look at a plant and enjoy its beauty as a physical, and then at the same time you're in touch with your soul, and the soul of the plant, the dimension of the soul, and you see what the soul tells you. What is my beauty? Have a look at this part, because you haven't seen it, you don't have the eye to see. This is what is missing. Confirmation of both existence at the same time, but being aware of it, not needing to go to sleep to become of it. It's a very big difference. And this will bring us to that point. This is why I tell you, I'm servant to her majesty, to her beauty, because the beauty is not male or female. The beauty is the sense of enlightenment, to see the beauty of the light of the Creator, the knowledge of the Creator. Is not again in the essence of the physicality, in the sense of the beauty of what is to come. What changes are there to come, and how this will bring us that beauty. Comprehension of the what was missed by us as in essence of understanding our own Creator, which is our own soul.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much, Azajur. Thank you very much for all your work in the background with the teachings on Friday. I know you keep on asking us to come in, but you're doing a good job, what I hear.
You know, it's my pleasure, because I really don't do anything really just any different. I just see what people's needs are, and I just try to give them what they need. I'm not doing really something huge. If it helps them.
It's enlightening. This is the beauty of when you're there to create that condition, is what I call love unconditional. We just give, and we're there, and it comes to us in its own ways. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up here from Antonio. And he had a question in the Q&A as well, mentioning the island of Tonga. So Antonio, could you go ahead and tell us where you're from?
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Kesh. I'm Antonio from Australia.
Yes, good. Thank you very much for all your support over years. We appreciate it and respect.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful teaching today. As always, it's beautiful, very beautiful. A couple of questions. I'm not Jalal, but I have a couple of questions. The CO2 in the capture of CO2, this will be used not just to spray on the cities, but will it be used for farming as well? And can we buy the product, the CO2 captured from the plasma reactors, whatever they are? We can. Will that be used for farming? That's my question.
Yes, it is, and part of the captured thousands of tons of CO2, part of it goes to farming, part of it goes to clean up of the rivers and pollutions. It is part of creating that connection. Yes, we have a facility now in our laboratory in Austria, where we dry gases in a different way. It's the Austrian you mentioned. We have both a unit and there's a industrial scale of it that will be brought into all the Keshe Foundation, what we call CO2 centers. We cannot hold so much liquid. We convert it into what we call dry state or a gel state, depends what the need be. And then, yes, it'll go into farming, into all sorts of health application. The gel packs you buy, the pillows you buy, these dry gases are embedded into it, some of them. And it's the same with the enhancement units, which you see coming up. The what we call dry gases are embedded into these. It's not just normal systems. Yes, agriculture is a backbone of the use of it, and we, in time, when we have a surplus capacities, will return these into the oceans as a liquid gas and dry gas, because in evaporation, this will change the climate totally. This is part of what is to come.
Looking forward to that, Mr. Kesh. Beautiful. I'm aware that Tonga is an island not far from Australia, where they have problems with arsenic, high levels of arsenic in their water. And your water purification technology, would that be easy enough to extract this arsenic out of their water? So, because it's affecting their health. And,
yes, it's not just there. We have a number of locations around, about hundreds of them with different problems. But arsenic can be done and can be supported to be extracted. Yes.
Good.
We have the technologies, just now industrialization is another problem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And thank you for everything you do. It's a great joy to hear you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, perhaps we can take a question from the Q&A here. We have a question by Alexandra, who says, first of all, I would like to, this is Alexandra from Brazil. First of all, I would like to express how happy I was with the news of the university in Brazil. I was very happy. Mr. Kesh, your love overwhelms me. I thirst for the water of life and hunger for the food of the Creator. Questions. 2 questions. One, Mr. Kesh, you commented in another class that physicality does not have to die. Is this soon to happen? Will we be able to do this? Will we use this on the day of what is to come? Will we transmute? Will we have to master this ability in the day of what is coming? How will we convert the cell of man into energy?
You convert the cell of the man to energy every second you live. But now is understanding the process that you can control. We have, in a way, the wrong mentality towards this process. And once we establish it and understand it, we'll see that there is no limitation in the totality of understanding of the knowledge and technology of the creation. And we can solve it very easily. In respect to the Brazil University, we have, as you might know, have asked the Brazilian Keshe Foundation team to start looking for the accommodation or the premises, and it'll be replica of the other universities with institutes. We are opening an institute. There's a very fine line between the institute and the university. The institutes, we will not teach the basic of what we call it, the alphabet of the Keshe Foundation, knowledge of the conversion of cancer, whatever, is where we do the research to develop new technologies, to understand more, to be able to comprehend more for all of us the process of the creation. And this will continue to be so. And we made the decision to go for Brazil for university because we have such a large active community in Brazil that we have to support them to extend it to the rest of the places. If you see how Brazil team has reached the remotest Amazon jungles, it's our responsibility to support that for the people in Amazon to understand as much as the minister in the cabinet in Brasilia about the knowledge and technology and understanding. This is part of the work of the institute. And this is a greatest pleasure with what we have with Rafael and the team of the Keshe Foundation in Brazil to invest 500 million in building this institute and leave it in the hand of the knowledge seekers of the Brazil to expand it, to bring new dimensions, new technologies for the, for the nation. We will interconnect all the universities, which the knowledge will be instantaneous. Whatever is learned in another one can bring the rest in. The whole thing for the Austrian Keshe Foundation is in its final phases in the next few days. And then we have received agreement for 4 more universities which will be built, and Brazil is one of them. It's a great pleasure to serve the nation this way with the knowledge. Any other question?
We have a second question from, excuse me, from Alexandra. Could I make the comparison with the manna that fell from heaven and the gans from cup 1? Both are white like flakes. They feed, heal, and must be donated. Could you make this comparison?
You've made it. You don't need me. There's something we have to go back why we made cup 1. Cup 1 was made, or cup of life, was made to support what we call the corona in its first infant stages in 2 years ago, more or less. We are reaching the second year of. We have received a request by the Chinese leadership and Chinese government officials if we can support the new wave of African corona. And we have responded. We're waiting for the response back from the Chinese leadership in the coming days that Keshe Foundation will enter in the second phase in respect to all coronas COVID, what we call combination of energies. I have a message for Dr. Hamdi of Iran and His Excellency President Xi of China. The technology of the Keshe Foundation in respect to the new energy packs will be delivered in respect to what we'll achieve in what we call 5+1. Is another condition that we have the technology, we can deliver it. You cannot use cup number 1 anymore for the new African version, and then we know there is another version will come out very soon. We think they might call it the Argentinian or the Brazilian version. The present African version from South Africa is a mutation of the virus for the high temperature. You got to realize there's a very much big differences in the variation of the energy packs in the southern hemisphere than the northern hemisphere. And when you can manage to transfer the ones from southern hemisphere to exist in northern hemisphere, they create havoc. They create a lot of other things we don't expect. We know that the South African version of this pack of energy is set especially that forces the African nations to take whatever the controllers of this process have. And because the Africans were not prepared, they didn't have the financial means, they would not support the use of anything else. So they have introduced this especially, and they call it this name, that is to bring the African nations in line. But the problem is when this hits the northern hemisphere, it creates a heart attack. And this is why it's very random. It's very undetectable. We don't see any senses to its past. This new version is known to man before the time of Moses. It's not a new version. This version goes back billions of years. It's part of us, but now in the newest strength has been introduced in deliberately. Research on this was started deliberately, again by Bill Gates Foundation in the background in 2015, to be cultured, to be ready. The history of this is very open to us. We know how it came in. And the next version, which come from Brazil, or will come sudden, maybe they bring it from Central Asia, we don't know where they're going to deliver it, will affect the brain and emotion. We saw some of this with the others which were brought in the first 2 years. We saw people jumping off the cliffs, people jumping up places, all sorts. Now, this time it's specific to the brain. And this uses part of the herpes cycle. Herpes, when you catch it after age of 60, 65, 85% of people who have a herpes online will end up with dementia. We know this scientifically, data collected. But this version, new version, which will come, maybe they bring it in next month, 2 months, 3 months, will go directly to the position of the fear. They'll go into the position of other things to do with the emotion, and we'll see huge number of suicides. Where with the African version, now we see a lot of heart attacks. And it's uncontrollable because it shows a small fever and then your energy hits you. The body cannot hold it. We saw this in the first cycle in Tehran, where we were handling what we call the first version, the rapid heart pressures and everything else. So now it's in the process, and we are aware of this, and as has been the request by the Chinese government to Keshe Foundation in the past few days to deliver a new solution for this. We are waiting for the Chinese leadership this time officially to put the lines down. And as I said to the Chinese leadership, CPC, I'm prepared to travel to China for 3 days next week to deliver the technology and the recognition of the technology being there. And they are playing with time. But you don't have time. And our message to the Chinese administration is, Your Excellency President Xi, the technology is disposal of the Chinese nation as was before, but this time recognition of the peace in exchange for technology through the Iranian government and the 5+ negotiation is sacrosanct. We'll respond to you, as we said, tomorrow to your team in Vienna, and we expect to see what will be delivered by the Chinese in the long run to their nation. Any other question, please?
Okay, Marinus has a hand up here. We have a couple more questions in the Q&A as well. Marinus, would you like to go ahead?
She's somewhere in the background, I can hear.
Good day, Mr. Keshe. My dear Mr. Keshe, I'm sure my mother will say that if she knows the news about the CO2 over Tehran. I was just excited. I wanted to call her at the moment. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving us a part to back the negotiations behind that helps us to elevate our souls. So it's a double benefit. And this teaching was sweet like honey and easy. I hope it would be always as easy. And I wish a lot of luck. And I have a difficult questions, which I have question that I have kept for years. Now I say it. Maybe, what do you think about the phenomenon of shadowing the soul? For example, which is famous, the spirit of Christ, which shadowed the spirit of Jesus at the age of 30 until the end. And there are other examples, probably Prophet, when he was bringing...
What do you mean by shadow?
Like taking command of, taking command of the spirit of...
You see, I explained this before. I live in a dimension of physicality. I carry the soul of physicality because I was born to it. But at the same time, I carry the soul of the knowledge of the universe through Creator. And when I teach, if you listen, there is very clear difference between the teaching and sometimes the question part. Am I shadowed? Or is the same, but at a higher level, the same soul speaks? You get enlightened to see further up.
Yeah, the second one.
That's how it is. We don't carry two souls. We are not schizophrenic, but we get enlightened to a higher dimension of the knowledge that we can share.
And is it, excuse me,
it's not the shadowing, it's part of the access in the same environment to a higher order knowledge. It's like you stay in a library all the books are there. Depends which book you pick to share knowledge of. And with this process, in this library, that all the books of the knowledge of universe is there, each time we pick one book and we speak and read that book.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed the book and it hasn't changed the man.
I understand. Is it all the time, or there are times of personal activities?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, the Prophet of Islam, they were asking him, is this word which is coming out of your mouth the words of God, or is it your own word?
It depends on what you speak. When you speak to a child, you speak the language of a child. And when you speak to a professor, you speak the language of professor. And when you speak to a war leader, you speak the language of the war leader. Is it the same man who talks to the child? Can you do the same thing with the president? But in essence, it's the same man.
Is it hard for people?
At the beginning, when I went through the process, it was very, very not difficult, but it's comprehending what's going on. And once you settle into it, you understand it. Sharing it for the others to understand at the beginning is very difficult. And once you become aware of it, that it can bring the change and reaches a state of understanding the totality of it, is a normality. When I still have a book somewhere, I don't know if it still exists or somewhere, I've seen it a few years ago. When I drew the pictures of a UFO and how it works, when I was in Wythenshawe College in Manchester with a bunch of our friends in a pub in Knutsford, and I explained to them that this is how it will look and that's how it's got to do. At the first 10 or 15 minutes, they were fascinated. But afterwards, they could not extend the knowledge or understanding. And at that point, I realized the knowledge which comes to teach, and so depths of it, is beyond the understanding of the man. And so I had to step back. And I tried to share it in university with my professors. They could understand a little bit more, but they were more pragmatic. And now teaching it the way we do, it's the same man, the same knowledge, but it put in a different way. For me to tell you there's a UFO and I'll show it flight, and then it becomes another magic. But this time we taught you everything from the basic, that you all understand how the UFOs work. So, but we carried the knowledge from the beginning, but it had to be watered down, tuned up, and shared in a very, very slow way. And it's the same soul. It's the same understanding, the same knowledge, and it's been there for years. It's just now we know how to, water it down, that everybody can benefit by it. The soul is the same soul, nothing has changed. It's just that the same soul you understand more of because you're more tuned to. A man teaching is not that difficult. You try to teach those which are much more infringed to deeper knowledge of the creation. There are sometimes a little bit of chubby waters when you start sharing knowledge in that level, at the level of the soul with them, and they want to know more.
I thank you very much. I'm so moved by your sincerity, that you have always been sincere and simple with us. I wish you all the blessings and joys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other question? There is a request which goes to all of you, is try to understand and try to connect to what you call your dreams. And then through it, you might start understanding the work of your soul. And then do not connect it to the physical dimension of physical life, but look at it and how it could exist without the physicality. And what does it mean? And what is supposed to serve? What is the outcome? When you have a dream, try to understand that dream not in a physical condition, but in the process of how it took place. How come that you had a dream about the mom today, and what does it mean? What is she trying to tell you? What is she trying to bring you to understand? And then look at the connection between the soul, how your soul is connected to your mother. And don't connect it to the physical life. And then let's see how you start progress to understand the separation between the soul of the man and activeness of it and the physicality of the man. And then you might break some grounds in understanding your own existence a little bit more. Any other question? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here and just got a bunch of windows in the way of my
Yeah,
microphone.
you keep on disappearing in places I see you.
To be
I
in many
have to get the
places at once.
charge. Yeah, I've got to get the charger for my.
Dan Nieggs in the YouTube says, good morning from Vienna, Austria. So you have some allies there.
Carry on, please. Can you repeat again, please?
A comment from Dan Nieg in the YouTube. Good morning from Vienna, Austria. So you have an ally there.
We have many allies in Vienna at the moment. We are doing a lot of good work, thanks to especially the support from the Iranian officials in the background without the officials knowing they're there. But overall, everything looks good. Do you mind going on a small commercial break? Otherwise, I'll lose the connection.
Right. Okay, sure. I think we're just about to lose it there now. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. We'll go on a little break here and be back again shortly. This is 17 minutes total, I just noticed. So Mr. Kesh, you can just interrupt anytime you need to restart the workshop. Okay, let's have a look at that.
The process of understanding is very simple. The process is, as I explained last time, I explained more in detail. We are created out of the rays within the center of the universe. In interaction and reduction in strength and division by the strength in certain strength fields, in collection of the totality of the expansion of the universe, some energies, some dynamic fields have come together. Over billions of years, these fields lead to the creation of what we call the sun. Where the plasma gathers together. The same process repeats again because the sun is the same as the energy center of the universe. Now, the heavier, the larger amount of the energy which is collected in this span of the universe, called the sun, that it radiates out, does the same thing again. Radiates its fields out, and in interaction with itself, with the fields of itself, leads to creation of planet. In that process of the creation of planet, the same process happens again. In the interaction of the fields of the earth with its environment and cooling and exchange with the strength of the other things in the environment of the space of the solar system, leads to creation of man, cell, matter state. And that itself, in coming together and slowing down in such certain ways, as we call, leads to another sun. We call the soul of the man. This is the truth about the life and creation of the man. But if the soul of the man can understand and absorb and be correct with his conduct, he can become the strength of the fields and carry the strength of the field of the planet which came to his creation. And if the soul can understand with the same process, can interact, can be correct, can absorb with itself the totality of the strength of what it needs, he shall become the sun. And then the same soul has the energy that it can absorb within the solar system within the galaxy shall become the center of the universe. This happens on Earth, we call it the rain. Come from, goes back to. In the solar system, we call it planetary system. We come from the rays, we become the planet and go back to the mother. The same thing happens with the galaxies, with the solar systems, which they get absorbed back in and chewed up back into the universe. The life, the process of existence in the universe is the same. It doesn't matter on what exchange and what extent. So, what is the man fighting for? Why do we fight for something which has come from the point of the creation, and in the process it goes back to the creation? The soul of the man as the energy of the earth gives the face of the man, the face of the earth, and that process is the same for the soul of the man. Our soul, in reduction in strength, in interaction with the emotion of the field of the environment, leads to manifestation of the existence of the man. But once it's completed, does it need the face? Or can it be and becomes free from it, what we call the soul of the man, to be free and detached from its existence? Our soul is part of the process of the creation. The key to one question for man shall be in the future to be answered. As we saw, the sun became the earth, and as we saw, the earth became the man's soul. What will be the destiny of the soul of the man now becomes free at the point of departure from physicality. Would it become the sun for creation of another life, or many lives, or correction of lives? This shall be, and this is how it happens. When you create a soul which is not correct, which is misconduct by itself, cannot give, you lead to the creation of this next cycle of creation, which has started the wrong way, the wrong strength. This is one thing the man has never understood. You become the creator of another universe, another cycle. And this is what you have to judge within the structure of the soul of the man. What would I like that cycle to be? In the physical life, we create children. In the dimension of the life of the soul of the man, what that soul will create. If man has thought up to now, that's it, my end, my point, when I die is finished, there's as much fallacy that when the sun is destroyed in any shape or form, there shall be nothing left. But we know the part of the sun becomes part of the galaxy and becomes part of new life. So shall be the soul of the man. The judgment of the man has to be according to what he sees the future his soul can conduct to be. The day of judgment is for the man, not in front of the Creator. That what my soul judges to be and what shall create. Man never understood and shall never understand till can solve this dilemma within itself. The reality is very, very, very real. And that is, as we've seen, the energy of the galaxy become the sun, the energy of the sun has become the earth, and the energy of the earth has become the soul of the man. So shall be the soul of the man, which is the energy itself, another cycle of life. How can you change when you don't understand? How can you change the process of understanding if you do not understand the process of the creation? Do we need to extend the understanding of the man that what is the future he brings? We care about our children, what education they get, what they wear, how happy they'll be, where they sleep. Now the man has to be careful and consider, what life shall my soul create? Because those are the children of your soul. As we see, the rays of the sun has become a planet and 7 million children of it. 7 billion unlimited, which is growing. So the soul of the man will go through the same process. How many billions and subdivisions and sub-matter state of the physicality of the man your soul shall create? Would it be the soul of wars and conflict and forever killing? Or would it be the soul of this, let's say, solar system, which is peaceful? This is the truth and the reality about the soul of the man. First of all, as I said many times recently, we never understood that the soul of the man is within the structure of the man. And now that we understood, we understand on departure from the physicality of the man, the same process will carry on as it did for a star, a planet, and the soul of the man becomes another energy source, a higher order, which itself leads to the creation. It becomes the star, it becomes the center of the new cycle of creation. This is what the human race has to understand. The cycle actually starts at the point of death and not finishes at the point of death. In so many ways, if one understands, is as the dusts, specks of dust came together to make the earth in the solar system, so has the specks of the atoms has come to be the creator of the man. And the essence of the creation of the specks of dust on the solar system has led to the creation of the man, so shall be the fields from the soul of the man which lead to creation of another cycle of life. What kind of life man would like to have to be created by his soul? This is the day of judgment. This is what man never understood. Now you have to understand. You have no choice. Up to today you were not aware of it. From today you are aware of it. You are responsible for it. Your conduct has to be to elevate your soul. That in elevating the soul, what you become the creator of stands correct in the conduct of the citizens. We don't give a fairy tale. This is the truth. But as you've seen, the process does not stop with one sun. The cycle carries on. It's very interesting in how humanity, now knowing the fact, will handle the fact. It'll take decades for man to understand, and then you understand those who become the tools of war, the tools of conflict. They have less, they have nothing to start with. They have to become the dust in the solar systems of the others till the day they learn more, as they cannot create a new cycle through their own soul. This is the elevation of the soul of the man. To be part of the creation of a beautiful life for the next cycle. When you don't have it, you have to become another cell in the body of the structure of the bigger, for you to be just there that you can run when you could have been the soul of the man. They say, do not create fear. I give you the point of love for creation. If you cared about your children on this planet to have the best, your true children come out of your own soul in the coming time. How would you like to educate them? How would you like to be when you are in conflict with yourself and the cause of so much mayhem? This is the truth, and the man will take a long time to understand, as now that we understand the soul of the man is an operator for the creation of the future extent of the life of the man. Whatever is gathered by the soul at the end becomes his point of reference of his own creation, of his own dimension. But the strangest thing is, what he creates from his soul shall become the creator of the other souls. This is the beauty about the creation, and one understands it, understands no limitation. Any questions? Thank you very much, Rick. That was so appropriate and so on time. Are you there?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Do you want to take a few more questions?
Yep.
Okay, we have Kay who had a hand up here. I believe he wanted to speak if he has a good connection there. Kay, can you go ahead? Or perhaps not.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. My internet is playing me up a little bit. I hope I'm coming across. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you sound like, God knows, somewhere deep down in the mind somewhere.
Can I just come back? I most probably have to do some sort of adjustment. Just give me a minute or to give a couple of questions, please. I'll come back in 1 minute. My apologies.
Rick?
Okay, we can hear you, but maybe it'd be clearer if you restart there, or whatever you have to do. Mr. Keshe's connection is a little iffy that way as well, and mine might be as well. It's a little hard to say.
But it is what we have.
I think it's a worldwide phenomenon right now. There's lots of things going on.
Yep.
We have the worst flooding we've ever had in this part of the world, and that's of note. The most rainfall in November on record in the west coast of Canada.
You
So
get the
that's
flood
kind of-
and the forest fires. You get both of them.
Yeah, and the forest fires made the flooding worse because it turns the mountainsides into mud, and there's no longer the tree roots to hold back the mud. So we get landslides that have taken out the highway both on the west coast and, well, many highways, actually 200 highways have been need work. And on the east coast, the main highway is also disconnected. So both sides of the country have the main national highway has been cut in half, and it could take up to months to be repaired.
Oh, you're the richest nation in the world. As a large industrialist, it should be no problem.
Yeah, well,
But you
things
don't have the
are
manpower.
now we're rationing gas, and they're rationing food in the stores and so on, and who knows.
Oh my God. I feel sorry for your most advanced developed nations.
They're the ones
In
that are in the
Africa,
worst
they go on a
trouble.
tree and they get their bananas, and that's it. They have no rationing. They've all been rationed for thousands of years.
Exactly. But in Canada, we rely so much on our systems, and when we don't get bananas, it's a major issue.
Okay, what's next question?
Yeah.
Hi, Rick.
Hi,
he's
Kay.
back.
We hear you clearly, I think.
He's back.
Go ahead.
He's back.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about the wastage of time. I've had a bit of a problem with the headphone. I had to disconnect it altogether. My apology. Thanks for reconnecting me. Thanks, Mr. Kesh, for your patience. And thanks for the beautiful teaching as usual. I had a question about Mithra. Obviously, I understand that the Mithra soul has been reborn this year on 21st of March. And you have mentioned about the physicality. My question was, when do we expect the Mithra's physicality to manifest? Is it in our time, or is it in maybe our next generation, our children? Just wanted to have indication, would we have the pleasure of feeling Mithra's physicality in our lifetime?
As the old saying says, wait and see. Is the recognition, is not the birth. It's a big difference.
Understand. So this is when we elevate and we understand more of the knowledge you've been so hardly trying to teach us, and we collectively understand and have more access to our soul, to the ethos of the universal being and existence. Is that when we feel Mithra is being present?
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello?
So
Yeah,
I
Kay.
lost you for a few seconds.
Kay was talking. Maybe you could say your question again there, Kay, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just trying to say that is it when we, the humans, collectively understand the work of our soul, and we have far more access to our soul, and we are in line with the ethos of the universe and the creator? Is that when the physicality or the manifestation of Mithra's physicality is felt by us, the human?
That has been felt by man for thousands of years. And we only changed it where it suits us. This is one of the things which is essentially part of this work. We only choose when it suits us to recognize. And this is part of the, we only go back to it if we need and we're desperate or something we need to solve with it. But we don't handle it that it's always there that we can nourish it. I had this physically with the Chinese authorities in past few days. They come back, they ask for help, urgent help with the new energy packs. Can you give us another solution? Because their say was, can we still use COP1? You used it, it didn't work, that's why you're back, but I was going to come and ask the question. I said to them in one thing, in one word, when our Chinese team are in the background, they know exactly because they were present. Yeah, that is, you came and you abused us when we delivered the virus for the pig. Once you took it, we showed it, and then it went disappearing into your system, stealing. Then you came and you used it for the first energy pack in January. And then when you got away with it, you again went on a path of abusing it instead of recognizing it. And now that you've been to all the knowledge seekers and they couldn't get help, you're back asking me to help, but don't want to recognize or go public with it. So you're always been aware that the knowledge has been there. But the answer was very interesting from their chief negotiator or the spokesman. It says, you have taught all your technologies to other knowledge seekers, and we are using them. I said, go and use them. See if this time they can save you. You teach, and they have helped us. Now the knowledge belongs to China. I said, why you're here? When I asked them, I'm sure you asked them, and they have had no news. Some of your leaders have already died. Is the recognition of understanding. It's oneself to understand and nothing more. And what I said to the Chinese is very simple. I said, you want it? Talk to your negotiators in Vienna. Iranian government will put it on the table on behalf of the Kashmir. And I informed the Iranian authorities this is what's going to happen to the Chinese. Its recognition is the same and exactly where it sits. Not just use it when it suits an amount as the amount of it you need. This cycle of the energy which has come from Africa will kill many of the world leaders. Because there is a discrepancy in some things. None of the world leaders and politicians and diplomats need to receive what they force every one of us to have. We've seen, as I said, this new energy pack was nationally based. Chinese, the Iran, the Italian, now African. Then now have become position job-based. None of the leaders need to be using it, or their family. And this is a shock to many of you to understand for the first time, we have an energy pack which is man position dependent. But this one is different. This one, the new African version, knows no position because a mistake was made. Well, now everybody is at it. Everybody is vulnerable to the new pack of energies. So they know, but they abuse it, and then they come to understand that we had to recognize it. And you know, we have to be able to recognize our position, recognize the reason for our position, and recognize what does it do for us in that position.
So, Mr. Kesh, to what I've been hearing, to what you have explained, The
Oh, we
arrogance.
still have 2 questions.
No, sorry, I will have one more.
It's not that.
the Jalal,
It's not the
the Jalal
arrogance.
syndrome.
Is thinking you're privileged. It's not the arrogance. Thinking that you are privileged. That sense of privilege is what causes the problem for them. You understand?
The entitlement. You think you're entitled.
Entitled. Yes, more or less, yes.
May God bless us, bless our soul in the direction where we, not the arrogance, as you just said, the sense of entitlement has been totally vanished, where we'll be embracing the new knowledge and be the humble that we are made or we are designed to be by the Creator. Mr. Keshe, there's one more question, if you don't mind, please. It is Jalal's syndrome somehow affecting everybody. God bless him. In future, as time goes by, when humans are having more access to their soul, and hopefully we will both live in, both dimensions, we will live as one, lots of things will be changing. So human in physicality will lose its appearance. Do we want to get rid of the human race? Because obviously this is a race which is representative of what has been created in our solar system, our God has created. And this physique and this shape belongs to the planet Earth. And the solar system. Hello.
I'm going to stop you there.
Sorry.
Affection changed as we became Chinese or English or African. No. It doesn't matter what changes in the dimension of physicality, the essence of the emotion and the rest of the true man will be the same. Nothing will change. There is no reason for that change.
Mr. Keshe, we have certain things which is unique. Sorry, which is unique to humanity.
Of course, we
like
have 2
passion,
eyes and 2 legs. Of course. The only unique, the only thing unique to man is love.
Yeah.
There is still love in different dimensions, but the way the man loves is unique. It's the beauty of it. But he cannot extend that love to be universal. It's selective. It's possessively selective. And that's where the problem is. That's where our problem sits in totality with the human race or with ourselves. Selective. Why can't we love everyone in every way? Selectiveness of it is the problem of it.
That is definitely a sticking point, and is a very important point that you just shed light on.
It's a very sticking
right.
point. It's a very sticky, because when it sticks, then why do we need to just love one? Why can't we love everything else? And then why do we push it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. God bless you. God bless you in everything that you do.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Well, that was a good one, yes. Let me see here. We have several questions in the Q&A. Another question from Brazil. From Marco. It says, here in Brazil, we use a way to remove some disease using sympathy. For example, to remove a spur on the foot, we cut a leaf from a palm cactus, remove the thorns, and place the sick foot on top of the leaf and cut it into the shape of the sick foot. Then we put it on the roof of the house to dry, and after it is dry, we throw it into a river, and the sick foot will no longer be sick. Question, is this the force of the plasma, the soul of physicality?
I lost some of the question because I got disconnected partially. Can you repeat that?
Okay. From Marco, it says, here in Brazil, we use a way to remove some disease using a sympathy. For example, to remove a spur on the foot, we cut a leaf from a palm cactus, remove the thorns, and place the sick foot on top of the leaf and cut it into the shape of the sick foot. Then we put the leaf on the roof of the house to dry, and after it is dry, we throw it into a river, and the sick foot will no longer be sick. So the question is this the force of the plasma and the soul of physicality?
Maybe a combination of the two. Maybe the conformation of the two in how we see and how we would like to see the results, and the conformity of it come with it. But do we put into the leaf and changes in the leaf because we have connected? Now we have a what I call a GANs outside to trans new knowledge. We can explain these things. Do we create the emotion of what is wrong with the foot as a weaker plasma within the structure of the GANs of the leaf, because that's what it is? And then we dry it, and then dry can be taken into atmosphere, whatever, when the energy is transferred. It's a very interesting, but in so many ways, with the new knowledge we have, very intriguing to see how we interpret the new knowledge in the shape and the condition of the new understanding.
So it'd be a similar principle to what's called the pain pad and how that can work to remove certain afflictions and so on. And sometimes we get rid of the pad after its job is done. So it's similar to using a leaf, which is the same multi-layer amino acids and so on involved.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Cristiano goes on to say, how do you define the spiritist doctrine? And I'm wondering if perhaps that is part of the spiritist doctrine, maybe that removing disease using sympathy. I'm not sure. I haven't looked up spiritist, actually. Is that a familiar term?
I don't understand it either. It is what we call part of that process. We understand. I transfer part of my energy to you, and you transfer it to somebody else. But these have to be understood in totality.
I think just is probably the doctrine that there's a spirit in everything, even things that are inanimate and so on, which you've talked often. Even a stone has a soul, for example. So in a way, this is a spiritist doctrine, but that's just one tiny aspect, I would say.
But that is in the writing of Blessed His name, Baha'u'llah. It says even stone has a soul. So we understand more and more as scientists. We understand more and more. So
Sorry, missing your voice there, Mr. Kesh.
understood, and is for us in manners, we should say in a hello, am I there?
Yes, we hear you now.
Hello. Yeah, I said this is more in a manner that we understand part of it or some of it, but it's very much, if you look at it, it's still again is that situation with the Ganses. We have to understand how we define the spirit and how we define the soul. And then what we call spirit, which is the soul of physicality. Then if I can transfer some of mine, if you're humble enough to accept, then you can carry. This is what we say about the future, what we call pilots of the flight system. Do they become that they carry the soul of the physicality, the dimension of the soul stands on its own as a center, and then delivered, and the soul of physicality takes the feature at the point of the deliberation. It's now we understand we can do more, and now we understand we can understand more in the truth, in the real condition. Any other question?
Okay. Patricia asks, good morning, Mr. Kesh. If we put our CO2 cup in the middle of our garden or surrounded by plants, will it create better quality GANs?
It definitely will absorb energy from its environment and will give to its environment. And as your environment, if it's in the garden, has plenty of trees and shrubs or whatever, there are the CO2 capturers, but of the different strength. Maybe they added to. I said this to a knowledge seeker some time ago. Put the CO2 GANs under a tree at night, and then put the same batch of GAN CO2 under the same tree during the day, and use another batch of CO2 outside, away from the tree. And then take the gases of it and see how you feel. Or give the gases of it to another plant and see how it feels. How will change it? Would one plant die? Would one plant grow faster? So there is a reality about this. And in so many ways, if you think of it scientifically, why do the plants absorb more CO2 at night? Because different magnetic field condition with the fields of the rays of the sun are created. But during the day, they're still absorbing. It's not that they switch with the light. Look at the evergreen plants. How come they always stay green? Because they use a spectrum which is always the same. Winter, summer, cold, whatever. So they don't need to be specifically linked to a certain given strength of CO2. Now we understand this knowledge. There's a lot to be done. And these are what I was saying before, needs to be researched by our researchers. One of the interesting points is now that we open the space to man, The key point is, what happened if we take gans of CO2 and take it to the moon or another position in the universe? How would it change? Would it stay as a gas? Would it change color? Would it change its volume? Forward with a new need to be answered. And then what do we learn from it? We change the magnetic field of the condition of this carbon in our body, and in one point it becomes huge to become a cell of the what we call the body of the man for the meat, and the same carbon in another position in the liver does different things, different magnetic fields. Would the CO2s we take into space or any other material will be the same? Be what we call like a gel when we go through it. Do we need to produce new condition, new materials can stand new environments in space? And these are what is to come and what will be to be answered. And this CO2 will change? Yes, 100% does. Because from the test we've seen from Raman spectroscopy and infrared spectroscopy, we don't see one peak of CO2. We see a spectrum of the CO2, which is the gas isotopes. And if one of these isotopes in your gas locks with one of the plants, it will change itself and it brings others into play. And would the CO2 you put under an apple tree will be the same if you put the same gas patch under an orange tree? And then if it's not, why do we have difference in fruits? These are the things which we have to be open-minded. From now on, we can't have a dogma because this is what is said, that's what's there. We have to look at the totality and understand it, and then we can change this. Any other question?
Yes, there's always more questions, it seems. From the YouTube, Andrew asks, can you ask what does it mean when you rarely remember your dreams?
Or
not able to hear you.
The dimension of physicality, so we don't need to remember it. Can you hear me now?
Just now, I sort of all tried to catch up in 1 second there.
Yeah.
Try
I
say
said
it again.
we call it forgetfulness. We prefer to forget it, or it has nothing to do with the dimension of us in a physical dimension. So the soul does its job. It's just like walking down the street. Other people have a discussion. The other one cuddling each other. There's nothing to do with it. You just walk. But you know you've been witness to something, but that's something you don't know the name of the guy or the name of the people there is nothing to do with you. It's the same process. Go back into the memory bank of the soul, you find out what happened in the dream. Any other question? Can we finish for about the next 10 minutes or so? I have to attend a meeting.
Yes, indeed. Let me see here. Dan has a series of questions here. Try to get through them. And we have a hand up from Sylvia, who we'll get to next. So Dan says, I do not, or whoever from his group, I do not know how they isolate and identify the new strains in physics with this madness of genetic modification. But in plasma, how do we identify the different fields of the energy packets for which the cups were used? Alpha, delta, etc.
Go back to book number 3. There is a paper published, I think it's in public, or you can buy it of the Keshe Foundation. It's called Microbes, Bacteria, and Viruses. Read it and you understand it. Any other question?
That's good advice. Dan, let's go to Sylvia here. Sylvia, would you like to go ahead? Should be able to open your microphone there. If you could say where you're from.
You can hear
me? Go
me?
ahead. Yes, we hear you.
Good morning, everyone. And dear Mr. Keshe, I have a question. I'd like to
Can you
ask.
tell us where you are from?
I'm from Germany, Bavaria. And
Okay.
I have a question. I can, sorry. I want to ask you that you are interested that I give some Zoom sessions for enter to deep meditation, body scanning and healing, and to guide the people to use the highest frequencies in his life to heal herself or get free her soul and play this
It's
thing.
nothing to do with us?
Yes, when you like, I have time for give some time sessions. And
that doesn't come within the work of the Keshe Foundation.
What do you mean? I can't hear you.
Does not come within the work and the work or scope of the Keshe Foundation. We don't get involved in these things.
Is to integrate it what you're teaching. Where is the
a lot of, I understand what you're trying to tell me. There are a lot of knowledge seekers of different expertise are bringing their expertise and using the GANs technology to bring to make better things for their whatever field of work they are in, be it doctors, be it psychologists or whatever, or being even a pharmacist or anything else. This is what the beauty of the teaching is. We teach it freely for you to see how you can integrate part of it into your work, into making a better life for others. But don't use the Keshe technology in a way of trying to use it as a new plasma technology to elevate the wrong ways of teaching and the wrong ways of bringing what I call a school of thoughts. And that's all we ask.
Okay. Yeah,
you're not the first person. Many
for crashing.
Many. We've seen the artists, they put the GANs into their paints and they make a new painting with the GANs.
Yeah.
I mean, not to use it, but it's.
Okay, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Oh, that's all depends on you. Shall we call it?
Okay, yes.
Thank you very much for today. A little bit chubby this time, but with the breaks which comes, we have, I hope we won't be the same next week. But even it comes as part of the work we have to be with the teams we are, we'll shift rapidly the teachings if it needs to be. And we delay the teachings or we bring free teachings forward because This is part of our work. We are here primarily for next 2 or 3 months as a backup to advisors, or in a way pushing and shoving things with these people to get them in the right path. Thank you very much for today, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks, Rick.
Okay,
And goodbye.
thank you so much, Mr. Kesh, for yet another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, the 409th Knowledge Seekers workshop on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. And we have coming up, let me see what the date is. I think it's the 7th. Yes, on the 7th of December, and Tuesday, December 7th, at 4 p.m. is the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And I understand the first part of that workshop will be spending, I think it's 10 minutes in silence in dedication to elevate the souls of the negotiators involved in the peace talks in Vienna. So we look forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for attending here today. And I'll play the Christmas bundle video one more time here. And may everyone have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time around in this workshop as well. Okay, bye for now.